Hey guys, it's Cash here again. A lot of people were asking for our duo setup for my Magic Find Tornado shot build with the Aurabot, so I thought I'd just go over the few things that I changed from my solo setup. If you haven't watched my solo setup yet, go watch that video. You can see a more descriptive detail of everything that I'm going over today, but these are just a few things I swap out from that build. So as you can see, we've got quite a bit more quant and rarity. We're looking with our flask up 92% quant and 403 rarity. That isn't including the 45% in the helm or the 70% in the bow from item rarity. So you're looking at more like 515-ish rarity and 92% quant. A huge jump from the solo setup. This is possible because we can drop some damage and tankiness for more rarity and more quant, or about the same quant. First thing that we swap here is the Ascetic. This has to be allocated with Whispers of Doom if you are running elemental weakness on hit gloves, which you should be because this gives you a lot of damage. Even with the Aurabot, I would still recommend this. But yeah, Whispers of Doom for additional curse because you've got your mark on hit as well as the Ele weakness. So with the Ascetic, we get a 120 rarity total as well as 15% quant. You do need to equip a normal and a magic item. Because of this, we run a white quiver with bow attacks, fire an additional arrow. This is only about like 1 to 2 to 3 divs on trade. It's quite cheap, but it does give you a good amount of boost in damage because of the additional arrow still. And then for the blue item, we run our helmet, which is mana reservation of skills and reduced mana cost of attacks. Those are the two most important to have still. You probably don't need a perfect mana reservation on your helmet, but that's what I run just because I do. For the prefixes, we've got rarity, and then a suffix, we've got the crafted rarity from slaying rare unique enemies. For those two, you can change them for whatever you want. Since this is literally no chaos res aside from the flask, we're looking at, you know, minus 25 with flask up. Flask is up most of the time, so personally I don't really care because I still don't die. But the other way of getting it is from the helm. That's like literally the only place you can get it. From clusters, you can get it on the suffixes of your clusters, or from the Watcher's Eye mod from Purity of Elements that gives you chaos res from Purity of Elements. So it definitely still is possible to cap out your chaos res if you want to. Personally, I don't care because I don't die, and I run the Soul of Arakaali, which helps with chaos res with damage over time, which is what you would normally die to anyways, and reduce damage taken over time. For the other items that we've got that are different, we've got our Greed's Embrace. This gives you 15% more quant and 50% rarity if you have a perfect roll. These are super cheap. You can six them yourself for really cheap using Tainted Fusings. If you don't know how to do that, watch a video on it. It's really easy, and it's a lot cheaper than trying to spam fusings to hit it. And then we've got just the gold flask that we run. If you do feel like you're lacking damage with this setup, you can always go back to the Eye of the Great Wolf setup with a crafted helm and crafted quiver. But for me, it's definitely not necessary. Even when we were running back in the earlier days, I ran this setup with the white quiver and the blue helmet, and we were just fine. If you do not have a Headhunter, the #1 recommended belt would be to run Biscos because it gives you more quant and it gives you up to 66% more rarity depending on your rampage. It does cap out at 1,000, so just keep that in mind. It won't keep going infinitely. But yeah, that adds, you know, if you have a corrupted one like me, that adds 10% quant or 5% quant on just a regular belt, as well as 1% rarity per 15 rampage kills. So for our links, the only thing we changed here is we dropped Hatred, as well as if you looked at the solo setup, I did have a mana reservation cluster here. We dropped that mana reservation cluster because I don't need it because we dropped Hatred. And then we're still running the same, basically the same as before. So Petrified Blood, Herald of Purity, Purity of Elements. This is only for the ailment immunity, so I wouldn't recommend dropping this if you want to, because the ailment immunity is huge for you, both you and for the Aurabot, because the Aurabot isn't running it unless yours is. But for the most part, your Aurabot won't be running that. Then we've got Herald of Ice, Precision, and Vitality. So for the most part, everything is the same. You know, there's a few item swaps, but you know, gem links are generally the same. One thing that I would swap out is taking out this Immortal Call and just running Molten Shell on your left click. Because you have an Aurabot with you, you've got way more armor, and you can get basically this capped out most of the time, just because of the Aurabot. Any of these flasks can be swapped out for really whatever you need. We're really crit lacking, so I run a crit flask as well as a reduced mana cost of skills flask, which I always run because you're going to run out of mana quick. Even if your Aurabot is running clarity, sometimes it's just not quite enough. And then obviously you don't have to run the rarity flask. You can run something like Taste of Hate, which gives you physical damage taken as cold, as well as extra physical damage as cold. So that gives you a bit of damage and tankiness. And then instead of Progenesis, you can run something like the Etziri's Flask. It will also give you Chaos Res, but it's, you know, a billion times cheaper than this one. For the tree, basically everything is the same. I'll post a POB to this anyways, but yeah, mostly everything's the same. Same clusters. Watcher's Eye, we've got a crit hatred and a life gained on hit. You don't need this, it's like 30 div. So the most important thing I would say is the vitality on hit if you're dying a lot, because that'll help you sustain your life a lot better. Other than that, I mean, everything's basically the same. There's just a few changes. You're still running Tornado Shot. You're dropping one link in here. You're dropping Inspiration to run item rarity support. For my Aurabot, like, to get one up and going is quite cheap. You can get one going for, you know, 10-15 div. Like, that's going to be a solid Aurabot. But most of the uniques that like we run are like, these are all 1C uniques other than Ashes. Soul Ripper can be expensive depending, and like running 5 passive voices are like 20C, or sorry, 50C each. He's only running one 3 passive here. The rest of them are 5. You can run them all 5, but obviously the most important thing is to get the mana reservation small clusters. If you want a more descriptive guide on Aurabots, I would definitely recommend checking out Haloplasm's channel. He's got a whole few hour-long videos on getting the duo setup going, and, you know, pros and cons of basically everything for your Aurabot. This, you know, this Aurabot that we're looking at here is hundreds of divines. It doesn't have to be like this. This is just min-max because we have nothing else to do with the money. But if you're wanting something cheap, Haloplasm has his Discord as well as his YouTube channel with a lot of good videos and content on how to set up an Aurabot, and he's got a lot of budget guides as well that'll help you out. Anyways, if you have any questions about the build or anything else, feel free to join my Discord server or stop by my Twitch stream. Links for those are both in the description, and I'll try to help you out as well as I can. I stream almost every day and I'm always active in Discord. I don't mind helping people with crafting or with the build setup, so yes, feel free to stop by and I can help you out.